Hey guys, welcome to Sarcastic Recaps. Today, I am going to explain a movie called Limitless. So we meet our main character, Eddie Mora, who's basically the poster child for procrastination. He's got this super important book to write, but he's more into talking about it than actually doing anything. Writing, nah, that's overrated. At lunch with his young lady Lindy, who's clearly had enough of his lack of career progress. She throws his keys at him like a medal for not getting anything done and walks off, probably to go conquer the world or something while he's still grappling with writer's block. So he's strolling along a New York street where he bumps into his estranged ex-brother-in-law, Vernon. Vernon, who's probably into some shady business with a pharmaceutical company, is all like, "Hey Eddie, want a drink?" And Eddie's like, "Sure, why not? I've got nothing better to do." They chit-chat about Eddie's ex-girlfriend, Melissa, who's living in upstate, and Vernon is like, "Dude, take this magic brain pill that will be released in a year and see what happens." Eddie's like, "All right, sounds totally legit," and pockets the pill. Later in the flight of stairs, he finds the property manager's better half, where she rails him about late lease and absence of profession. But then the pill kicks in. Suddenly, he's got this superpower of talking to his landlord's wife about legal studies, and bam, they end up co-authoring a law school paper and engaging in extracurricular activities. But wait, the magic pill turns messy apartments into pristine palaces. Eddie goes from slob to spotless in a heartbeat. I mean, who needs a cleaning service when you can just ingest a tablet, right? And off he goes, printing out hundreds of pages overnight. Forget writer's block, now he's got writer's Niagara Falls. And he's now the king of productivity, typing away like a man possessed. He's got pages flying out of his printer faster than a squirrel on caffeine. Off he goes to meet his editor, who's clearly shocked that Eddie managed to produce something other than an excuse. So now Eddie's riding the brainwave of success and decides to pay a visit to Vernon, who's unfortunately turned into a bloody mess. But that's not enough to put Eddie off. He's just like, "Hey Vernon, can I borrow a cup of laundry and some food? Also, got any more of those magic pills?" Eddie returns to find Vernon quite literally dead on the couch, but guess what's there waiting for him? A stash of NZT-48 pills, a bag of cash, and an address book. Normal people would probably run away, but Eddie's like, jackpot. Now let's talk about Eddie's social transformation. From zero to hero in no time. He's learning piano, languages, cards, and heaven knows what else. Can someone say jack of all trades? Oh, and he's the life of the party, the guy who cliff dives like it's a casual morning jog. And did I mention his superpower? He can time travel. Well, not really, but the guy can forget entire days while still keeping his hair perfectly styled. Eddie is welcome to a jet-set Oceanside party down south. He flies around with a darling in a Maserati, and at that point flaunts by precipice jumping from more than 100 feet. Uncovering that a symptom of NZT is to move at any point forward full speed ahead. He has a revelation on how to help the remainder of his life, yet acknowledges he really wants loads of cash to make it happen. And of course, in true get-rich-quick fashion, Eddie dives into day trading. Because why not? A dose of miracle brain pills and he's turned into a financial wizard, making more money in a week than most people make in a lifetime. And his photo ends up in the paper labeled as a mysterious trader. Of course, that's when the mysterious tan coke guy starts lurking around again, but what's that? A Russian loan shark wants to play Monopoly with Eddie's brain. Classic. Speaking of classics, we've got a love interest coming back for an encore. Lindy's impressed by Eddie's newfound abilities, but let's not forget that those powers are just one little pill away from evaporating. Romance in the age of cognitive enhancers. Eddie meets corporate marauder Carl Van Crackpot in an eatery. He tongue-in-cheek guarantees medicine as his mystery then, at that point, elucidates his insight and clues at an equation in light of mass brain research. In a limo, Carl tests Eddie by requesting that he survey a document of various organizations. Eddie gathers there is a significant consolidation underway. Carl dropped off Eddie in Chinatown and welcomes him the following day for another gathering. Eddie's having trouble keeping track of time because, hey, who needs a sense of time when you have a pill that makes you smarter than a library? Among his random adventures, he beats up muggers like he's been practicing his Bruce Lee moves and ends up in a bar where he presumably becomes best friends with a blonde woman at least until he blackouts. Eddie and Lindy rest together, however, in the first part of the day she dresses and is solemn. She maintains that nothing more should do with NZT. Eddie says he really wants additional time with it to set things up. Lindy leaves him. Yet again, Kennedy meets Eddie, this time needing more pills. Thereafter, Eddie enlists two guardians. He meets Carl once more, looking and acting sharp, and is placed accountable for expediting the biggest corporate takeover ever. Eddie has sorted out the legitimate dose to take, making sure to eat and evade liquor to keep away from power outages. He arranges a custom-fitted suit with impalpable compartments to conceal his pills, and recruits a scientific expert to figure out the NZT pills in a short half year. At a cafe business lunch, he perceives a police investigator from Vernon's passing examination watching him. The cop shows Eddie the photograph of him in the paper, which distinguished him as being at the Inn of the Killed Blonde. Eddie recruits great deadly attorney Morris Brandt, who gets him off against feeble fortuitous proof. Later on in the land of corporate fairy tales, he's attending this oh-so-thrilling meeting for the merger with Van Loon, and what do you know? One of the opposing side's guys, Atwood, is apparently playing the sick card. How original. They decide to delay the grand signing of the contract for another exciting episode the next day. After the meeting, our hero Eddie has a heart-to-heart with Van Loon, who seems to have taken a masterclass in veiled threats. Van Loon generously enlightens Eddie that his amazing job skills are like a magical gift from the heavens, not anything as pedestrian as hard work. Eddie then jauntily skips back to his hotel room, only to find it magically transformed into chaos. But wait, hold your applause. Eddie doesn't let this dampen his spirits. He whips out his wallet and splurges on the luxurious apartment we saw in the film's opening scene. Oh, it's just the cherry on top when he encounters the loan shark again. Surprise, he's undergone a complete makeover. This reimagined shark politely asks Eddie to fetch him more tablets, else he might accidentally reveal Eddie's little police trouble to his boss. What a dear. The sun rises on another exhilarating day with Van Loon and Eddie eagerly waiting for Atwood to saunter in and sprinkle his magic signature on the merger papers. But alas, Atwood's sick day continues as relayed by his devoted wife, who conveniently pops by the office. Don't worry, it's just a minor hiccup. As soon as he's back from his sick leave, he'll surely sign that contract right after he enjoys a cup of unicorn tea. Eddie gallantly escorts Atwood's wife to her carriage, and oh, what a stroke of luck. Our hero spots his personal shadow, a real stealthy fellow, hopping into the car with the lady. Turns out her hubby's little tummy ache was brought to you by the letter D for drug-induced. But wait, there's more. Eddie's off to the police station to play a riveting game of line-up, who's the culprit. Fortunately, he's spared the agony of being the chosen one. He then leaves our sweet loan shark hanging, opting for a friendly visit to the Van Loon headquarters. There he finds Van Loon glued to the news, learning about the merger. Van Loon's new hobby? Getting steamed about it and fretting over Atwood's impending demise. And so Eddie's lightbulb moment arrives. It's time for another drug fix. But oh no, the stash has gone MIA. What an utter tragedy. But fear not, destiny delivers a package right to his doorstep, because that's how life works, right? It's not a severed horse head. It's even better, severed hands of his bodyguards. The man's gotta love surprises. Off he dashes again, this time at his cozy apartment, where he tunes into the news featuring Atwood's wife channeling her inner Shakespeare. Lawyer inception happens as Atwood's lawyer takes over the microphone. Guess what? Is also Eddie's lawyer. Ding dong. It's the loan shark at the door, demanding a tete-a-tete. Next, we find our Eddie contemplating the meaning of life on the balcony's edge. Spoiler alert, he doesn't take a dive. Instead, he embarks on a profound quest to find his misplaced tablet. It's a riveting scavenger hunt made even more exciting when the loan shark saunters into the scene, ready for a spot of confrontation. Eddie's buddies, the goons, are busy deciphering the mysteries of a safe, rendering them conveniently deaf to the goings-on. This is the ideal time for Eddie to teach his own anatomy class with a surprise guest appearance from his trusty pocket knife. Farewell, loan shark, hello, self-inflicted stab wound. In epic finale, Eddie gains a new, albeit gruesome, appreciation for bodily fluids and their role in drug consumption. He chugs down some bad guy blood like a vampire in a hurry for his daily fix. Empowered by this macabre refreshment, he takes out the goons like a champ. Meanwhile, Atwood finally decides it's time to cash in his sickness voucher and takes his leave at the hospital. Eddie, ever the compassionate soul, makes a hospital visit where he shares a heart-to-heart with Atwood's shadow, because that's a perfectly normal conversation starter. Oh, and just when you thought the excitement was over, and walks the trusty Shadow Man, now revealing his alter ego, the finder of lost drugs. Eddie's one lucky dude, right? He sniffs out some more drugs in the lawyer's apartment. Fast forward a year, and tada, Eddie's an author and a Senate hopeful. But lo and behold, Van Loon is waiting in his lair, armed with a sprinkle of drug-related blackmail. Van Loon spills the beans, revealing that he's dismantled Eddie's secret science lab that morning. But no worries, he's got a subscription for Eddie's fix if only our dear Eddie would sign on the dotted line. Lunch is on the agenda, but Eddie, the ever-discerning individual, declines the car ride and the corporate embrace. Our grand finale unfolds with Eddie proclaiming that he's become the Dumbledore of drug modification, mastering the art of quitting while winning. Eddie's now the all-seeing eye, invincible and unstoppably sarcastic. Van Loon's plea for cooperation is met with a resounding nod from Eddie, who lets him go on his merry way. Once more, at an upscale Chinese eatery, Eddie and Lindy are together. He arranges his food in familiar Chinese, then sees Lindy's bewildered gaze. "What?" he asks with pretended modesty. So there you have it, folks. Eddie Mora, the writer turned wonderman, the lover turned loner, and the pill popper turned political powerhouse. It's a story that'll make you wonder if Hollywood's been secretly handing out NZT pills to screenwriters for years. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to our channel for future recaps.